is on role of UA and its importance for the Indic internet and the language technology industry. We are having a really good set of esteemed speakers who have joined in us today, who would be sharing the India perspective, the globalist perspective, and our company who's actually implementing it. They want to share their views. So we really look forward to have a good, insightful session on UA. As you all know, FICCI has been running this FICCI ILIA, which is Indian Language Internet Alliance, for a couple of years, and we have been having a good response from our support with our viewers. Thank you all for that support, and with that, we have been able to drive the cause of the Indic internet and working towards various areas which is important for the same. And one of the critical things for the same, like we talk about, especially during this pandemic, when we know that video, voice, and vernacular has become three important pillars of digital India, and vernacular being one of the crucial components, especially for getting the masses online. So we feel that this is something which needs to be taken up in a full strength. Universal acceptance is something which we have been, as FICCI, we have been driving it with the support of ICANN, and we are thankful to ICANN for supporting the same. UA, as we understand, like we enjoy the benefits of our movies in our own languages and absorbing the content. UA is an important ingredient for getting the benefits of the businesses, or I would say the Indic internet realized in your own languages. So this is important for getting the mass digital revolution. And FICCI realizes this important need, and that is why we have joined hands with the stakeholders. And we would be happy to take suggestions also from you all, in case if you feel as a community we can take something further on this drive. Since it is a community-based program, we invite our viewers who have not yet joined in to kindly join the community and contribute in the same. In fact, there's a very good report which ICANN has come out. You can find the link on FICCI website as well as on the UASG ICANN website. The report talks about the importance of UA and the UA readiness, and share some really insightful analysis and the figures. So maybe a viewer who are interested in, we are more than happy. My colleagues will also post a link in the chat box for you all to download the report. And we are more than happy if you have any other questions on that regard to take it forward. With these words, I'll now formally welcome you all and start the proceedings of today's webinar. I would first speaker for the day is Dr. Gtld, a famous personality who doesn't need introduction, but as customary, I will do the needful. He's co-chairman for our FICCI ICT and Digital Economy Committee and a chairman of a UASG ICANN. So with these words, I officially welcome you all the panelists, and over to you, Dr. Data. We want to hear your experience, your thought process. How do you think with respect to Indian geography, why UA is important, what other things can be done, and what is your personal experience on that front? Over to you, Dr. Data. Data, you're on mute.
Thank you, Sarika ji, for this opportunity to bring in the most important area for bringing billion people online. We all have the responsibility, not one organization or one person or one team can do that. And I'm going to set the context because we have Sarmad Hussain, who is an pioneer and one of the most learned person in the world, who talks about languages and is responsible to bring in lots of technology and enablement in this world through ICANN. So universal acceptance, first let us understand what it's all about. Universal acceptance of domain names and email addresses simply means that all domain names and email addresses, including the new longer, which means the longer top level domain names means when you see .com, .net, you see .accountant, .professional, .doctor, like that. These top level domain names and all IDNs, which are domain names in a specific language, like in India, we have .bharat as a top level domain name in 22 languages. India is the pioneer in having number of domain names, number of top level domain names in all the Indian official languages. They must work in all software applications and all software devices. This seems reasonable and evident expectation, but it is not always met. That's the reason this UASG exists. The lack of support for domain names and email addresses has a negative impact on all the global internet users. You will agree that if I have a valid domain name and somebody cannot browse, somebody cannot type, somebody cannot resolve, or you don't receive an email, then obviously you start seeing that the internet is broken. And that is where the UASG and all of us work together to solve that problem, and rather advocate also that everybody solves that problem. UA readiness, which report Sarika ji was talking just now, and somebody will share that link in the chat, must go through report. This is a very well researched and very, very important report. You must see and you must look at what this report is all about. It is very, very important because it has lots of dollars have gone into, and lot of hard work of volunteering has gone into, years have gone into to prepare this. And this report is a master report for you to understand what readiness in the word is, and where do we stand, and what kind of efforts are required, and where you see an opportunity. Let me give you a little bit of ideas. 9.7% of email servers are potentially configured to support email addresses in local language and scripts. So you can imagine only less than 10% servers in the world are supporting a email address which they can receive and send from their servers. So almost 90% of the world is vacant. So if you are a technical professional, you have an opportunity. If you are a service provider, you are missing the customers. So it's a both way situation which is there. 11% of the top 1,000 websites globally support email addresses in Arabic and Chinese. And that is not very different for even other languages. So you can imagine this is valid for these languages, because Arabic and Chinese are a little difficult also for that matter. Arabic goes right to left, and Chinese has so many characters to be supported. And this require a hard work to be done. But the good news is 98.3%, which is almost touching 100% of the top 1,000 websites globally, support email addresses with short and top level domain names. It means that .in in India or .us in America, if you have that domain name and if you have that email address from that domain name, you are likely to be supported almost everywhere. But you can see even 0.7%, we still find that error, that still there are sites which do not recognize them well. Still these gaps are left out. So how do we work as an organization? So here's another opportunity for you. So we work through ambassadors, local initiatives, and FICCI, what it does is a part of local initiative program here by UASG. And there are many programs which I will talk about here. So we have ambassadors in region and we have the local initiatives. So we have ambassador in Benin, Brazil, China, Egypt, and India, along with Nigeria, South Africa, Turkey, and United States. Sarmat, please add if I am missing somebody here. So I'm just repeating, we have ambassadors in Benin, Brazil, China, Egypt, India, Nigeria, South Africa, Turkey, and United States. We have local initiatives in many countries. So CIS, Eastern Europe, India, China, and Thailand. These are live, and there are many other countries which are going on. UAE is actually working a paper which is actively working as a community. So in nutshell, what it looks like. So let us take an example of India. Government of India has taken an initiative to give us domain names in Hindi. Let us take that example in Bangla and Tamil, Telugu, and all the official languages, all 22. So if you can register a domain name, so most of you may not even aware that you could register a domain name in a language of your choice in India. And this is true in almost all top countries in the world. They have taken the ID and top level domain names, and the domain names are available. You could register an email ID on them. What we are simply asking that if you have a top level domain name, an ASCII, which is longer than 3 characters, smaller than 3 characters, domain name in a script which is having at least 1 character non-ASCII, and the email address on those domain names must be accepted equally everywhere in all apps, in all applications, in all websites. That's the UASG. I'm not going to take much time. I have just set the context here for Sarmad Hussain, who is supporting on behalf of ICANN and also a program director for IDN program and very knowledgeable. So it's an opportunity for all of us to listen to him and also learn what's going on in this area. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to set the context and introduce you universal acceptance, which I am chairing globally, and around 500 plus and volunteers and companies, including Facebook, Google, Apple, are part of that program and trying to solve this global problem to bring next billion people online. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Data, for setting up the context and for sharing the thoughts. I'm sure the audience and the viewers who are viewing this webinar, because we are really working hard and we would want all of you to become part of this revolution. And as Dr. Data has mentioned, the
Harika ji, we lost your voice.
okay, am I audible now?
Yes, now.
So, as you had mentioned, that the benefits of UA and the importance it carries, and for people to really enjoy the benefits of the Indic internet, I would say the internet, it is highly, highly important for businesses as well as the individuals to understand this concept and join with us. And we really request viewers to join this revolution with us and also invite your peers who are interested in that. As Piki Ally, we would be happy to handhold it with the process of UA. We would be happy to provide you all the details which we can so that we can take this movement together. After Dr. Data, our next speaker is Mr. Sarmad Hussain. His context has already been set by Dr. Data. So I'm sure most of you who have been working in this domain already knows him. Just a formal introduction for him would be, he's a senior director IDN and UA programs ICANN, and of course a really, really learned person and a veteran in the field of UA and the areas. He's the one who has taken out time. Thank you, Mr. Hussain, for joining in from a different geography and being with us. We understand the global movement for UA, which is very important, and we understand the role India as a country has to play in that. So really thanks to you that you have been taken time, and we really look forward to hear your comments and remarks, and also any specific things you feel that India could add on, any expectations with respect to India, we would be happy to listen to you. With these words, I formally invite Mr. Sarmad Hussain for his special remarks. Over to you, Mr. Hussain.
Thank you, Sarika, and hello and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I actually have a presentation which I'll go through. So we'll just wait a second for Sudhi to share that. Thank you. So I'll just be presenting a quick introduction to universal acceptance of domain names and email addresses, building on top of what Dr. Data has just introduced. Next slide, please. So the main idea or I guess goal of universal acceptance is that all domain names and email addresses should work in all applications. And even though that's an expected outcome, it's not necessarily true today. And we'll, in the course of this presentation, look at some of the challenges and how we obviously can address the challenges. The reason we want to address those challenges is because by addressing them, by promoting UA readiness, we promote consumer choice, improve competition in the industry, and as well as provide broader access to end users in multiple languages, in languages which they communicate in. Next slide, please. So when we look at universal acceptance, we categorize the problem in accepting domain names as well as internationalized email addresses. And then there are some subcategories which we need to pay attention to so that when we're designing our own websites, our own software, we can make sure that all these different categories are well supported. So since 2013, now it's been possible. Actually, in since 2009, it's been possible to have domain names beyond the usual .com, .org, the more, I guess, familiar domain names. It is possible now to have domain names for country codes in local languages. And then since 2013, it is now possible to have top level domains which are either new, like .sky, which is still three letters, but it's a new domain name. It's not .com or .org, the original list. Um, it is also possible to have longer domain names like .abu dhabi or .technology, and so on. And then it is also possible to have these domain names in local languages. Um, Similarly, for email addresses can also be now formulated using, I guess, these variety of domain names using the Unicode standard. So it is possible to have ASCII meaning, the more traditional letters A through Z and digits 0 through 9 and hyphen. It's possible to have domain names which can have other characters and email addresses also. So, for example, you can have an email address which has the domain name part or things which are after the @ sign in non-ASCII letters. You can actually have a mailbox name, or the local part or the part which is before the @ sign in non-ASCII letters in local languages, or you can actually have the whole thing in uh, local language or local letters. And then finally, of course, there is a bit of complexity which gets introduced on top of it due to right to left scripts, or those scripts which are written in right to left direction instead of left to right direction. And the idea is that all these different types of domain names and email addresses should be able, applications which are inputting or processing these domain names should be able to, well, inputting and processing or storing or displaying these domain names and email addresses should be able to handle all these different categories. Next slide, please. So we've done under Universal Acceptance Steering Group, we've done in a ways measurements on how, for example, websites around the world accept domain names in different languages and scripts. And in this particular study, it shows that we actually went to top 1,000 websites in across, in 3 different years, in 2017, 19, and 20, and went to their web pages. Like, they have normally a website would have a contact us page where you can actually go and put in an email address. And we were trying to figure out how many of these websites would accept an email address in different languages or different configurations, as listed on the left hand side here. And so new short is like .sky, new long is like .photography. And then we have email addresses which are mixed of Chinese and Arabic languages with ASCII. And as you can see, the results show that new short like .sky are mostly accepted, where with .com or .org, one would accept 100% acceptance rate. .sky is almost 100%, but for example, not quite there. Um, the new long ones are not accepted by many websites, so there's still about 15 plus percent rejection of such emails addresses. Those websites think these email addresses are invalid, even though they are valid. Similarly, if you go to the other extreme, we find out that email addresses which are purely in Chinese or Arabic, for example, or in local languages, the acceptance rates are very low by websites. So most of about 90% websites would consider them as invalid email addresses, even though they are valid email addresses. So the websites need to be updated to make sure that they actually recognize this latest standard to allow people to use, obviously, email addresses in their local languages. Next slide, please. And we actually did a focus study on about 50 different websites in India. And what we did was actually used three configurations of email addresses using, I guess, an email address in Hindi language, which, for example, had Hindi at ASCII.ASCII or Hindi at Hindi.Hindi and ASCII.Hindi.Hindi. So those were the three email addresses we tested on the 50 websites in India. And interestingly found out that even within India websites, local websites, the acceptance rate for Hindi email addresses is still, less than 20% overall. And so that's, there is a real need for us to revisit this to see, at least start supporting local languages. Next slide, please. Uh, Dr. Data also shared earlier, we actually, so this, the earlier work was looking at websites. We also looked at web servers. So, once a website accepts an email address, then it has to use an email server to send that email out using that email address. So it is critical that email servers are also configured properly so that once email addresses are known, one could communicate easily with using those email addresses in Hindi or in Chinese and so on. And if we just look at the first column on the left-hand side, which is sort of a summary, what we did was we actually went to the zone files and looked at MX records, which list the web servers, and we actually went through all the different GTLDs and sampled about, in some cases as many as 10,000 web servers to see whether or how many of these web servers are configured to accept email addresses, for example, in Hindi. Meaning that if I send an email out to that web server and my email is in Hindi language or Chinese language, will that web server accept my email and deliver it to a local mailbox, or it will reject it saying that this email address is not valid? And we found that globally, only 9.7%, less than 10% of the web server were able to recognize such an email as a valid email address. And more than 90% of these web servers out there are still rejecting such email addresses, saying that these are invalid email addresses, even though they're actually valid email addresses. So that's a real problem to solve. Websites don't accept such email addresses. Web servers are not, email servers are not able to pass on use such email addresses as valid and deliver emails locally using coming from such email addresses. So that's something we would want to fix. Um, and this means that not only my email server needs to be fixed, everybody's email server needs to be fixed if this email communication has to happen between multiple people. And if what listed is an email address, or a URL, at the bottom of this slide, where you can actually go and put in your own email address, and it actually will tell you whether your email address or your email server actually accepts email addresses in Hindi or Chinese or in any other local languages. So it will tell you whether your email server is configured properly to receive internationalized email addresses. Next slide, please. So this is obviously a priority, has been a priority for ICANN's community. ICANN communities organize itself into what is called a Universal Acceptance Steering Group. It's a group of volunteers. Currently, group is chaired by Dr. Data, and we have three vice chairs. This volunteer group is working very hard to raise awareness, identify gaps, and address those gaps in technology to I guess make applications UA ready globally. And obviously, this is an important area for generally for the community. Therefore, ICANN organization also focuses on it, and it's a part of the focus for us in through our strategic plan for next 5 years, that we need to address UA readiness globally. Next slide, please. So how do we fix the problem? The way to fix the problem is that we need to reach out to people who develop programming languages, tools, technologies, like Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, so Microsoft, uh, development platform frameworks, even languages like Java, Python. Go to the developers of these languages and make sure that their libraries, which they provide through their platforms, are updated to accept IDNs in all the different new categories, as well as email addresses, and we are able to process it. Similarly, we need to reach out to all the people who develop websites, um, and applications, and make sure they understand that there is now this need and ability of technology to be able to handle all these different kinds of domain names and email addresses. And when they develop their own websites, they make sure that, or deploy their email servers, for example, they make sure that this their deployments support all these variety in categories of IDNs and domain names. Sorry, IDN domain names, as well as the internationalized email addresses. Similarly, email tools like programming tools need to be upgraded, and their deployments with ISPs, with local organizations, need to be upgraded, so that they can accept, send, and receive emails from such email addresses. And then, of course, businesses, policymakers, governments providing e-government services need to make sure that, for example, email addresses in local languages and domain names in local languages are accepted through those services. Next slide, please. And to work on those areas, the Universal Acceptance Working Groups actually currently has these volunteer groups which focus in these different areas. They focus on technology, email address internationalization, identifying gaps through its measurement working group, developing outreach communication materials through its communication working group. We also have local initiatives, as Dr. Data shared, in multiple countries, including India, being led by FICCI, ILIA, who are helping us take this message to the local communities to, not only create awareness, but also motivate them to take up UA to address local community needs. And then we also have UA ambassadors who help transmit this message locally to the communities. Next slide, please. So different working groups of volunteers within UA steering group actually work with the different kinds of stakeholders to um, do the outreach and raise the awareness and promote UA readiness. Next slide, please. So as you can understand, if you have to make all the websites UA ready and all the email server deployments UA ready, it's not something which can be done by uh, just a few people. Everybody must contribute to it on at their own level. So I guess the question is then, how can the community contribute? As a first I guess step, one of the things all of you can do to help is to raise awareness of this technical issue in the community, so that people are aware that it is possible to have Hindi or Malayalam or Gurmukhi email addresses, um, and tell the technology people who are developing, for example, websites or deploying email servers, that they need to upgrade their systems to be able to accept such domain names and email addresses. We can also help you organize specific trainings for the technical community on how to fix existing software or deployments for email servers to address this problem. So, we can collectively organize trainings for this outreach. I guess something similar, but even in some cases more technical than the current awareness session. Um, and then obviously encourage members of the community to upgrade their systems and actually implement that training and make their systems UA ready. It's very important to share the experiences, share your journey, the challenges you face, and the obviously rewards you reap at the end of this journey for making your own systems UA ready. And we'll hear from industry leader today who's actually trying to make that happen. And then obviously we need to advocate this more broadly in our communities and in our governments so that this thing is obviously the support is available more generally and advertised more generally. Next slide, please. Um, I think instead of me going through how to fix UA readiness, we'd like to maybe listen to our speaker who actually presents a real case. So let me skip this slide. Next slide, please. Uh, Eventually, I think when you're testing your um, application for UA readiness, as we shared that your application or website should be able to accept, validate, process, store, and display domain names, all kinds of domain names and email addresses as shared. And what we've developed is actually USG 026, a USG readiness framework, which provides a testing criteria for all these stages. So if you're developing your own or upgrading your own systems, you may want to go and look at USG 026 to see what is the kind of testing you need to do at each stage to make sure that your application is UA ready. And you can find details in that report given at this link. Next slide, please. We also provide some test cases, so test domain names which are available in USG 004. We also actually have a case study which ICANN organization itself is going through UA readiness, I guess, transition. And we are almost there, not quite there, but recently we published a case study. Next slide, please. Where we shared the different stages of our journey in getting our systems UA ready. Um, and it's not just one system, right? So within ICANN organization, we have tens of systems which are deployed for CRM or ERP kind of systems for relationship management, internal management, as well as email itself. And what we found out was that it's easier first to solve for new short and long SKTLDs, then move on to support internationalized domain names, and in the final stage, support internationalized email address. And details of this case study are available online from the link provided. Next slide, please. So here are some links to some relevant materials. There is much more which is published on the usg.tech website. So we really encourage you to come and visit the site to look at these materials. The UA readiness report for this 2020 listed at the end here is what Dr. Data was also pointing out to, which basically summarizes what is the current status of technology vis-a-vis UA readiness in 2020, and what are still obviously challenges which we need to solve for. Next slide, please. And finally, we would invite you to join the volunteer groups at Universal Acceptance Steering Group. You can sign up for these groups through the links provided here. If you need any more information, please feel free to reach us at info@usg.tech or uaprogram@icann.org. So let me stop here. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hussain, for sharing your thoughts. You well shared the journey of ICANN for becoming a UA ready, the how to solve the problem, the support required from the enablers and the developers, and service providers, and of course the government and the industry, and the role which the ambassadors and the LIAs and everybody has to play in this, and also the six process USD framework, which is very much required. So I'm sure viewers, this was a quite learning presentation which Mr. Hussain shared with his thoughts. So if you have any questions regarding that or in anything related to UA, we're more than happy. We will be happy to take it forward after our next speaker finishes his presentation. You can post your questions in the chat box and we will take it up during the Q&A session with our speakers. Thank you once again, Mr. Hussain, for taking out time and sharing your thoughts. And viewers, as mentioned by Mr. Hussain, there is a lot of valuable documents which is available on the various site websites which Mr. Hussain has pointed it out. So maybe we request viewers to kindly visit them. With respect to India local chapter, you would have all the details on the FICCI website. In fact, there is a web page on the UASG, which is part of FICCI. We request you to kindly visit that web page, and in case you're not a member, kindly join us in the community. And with these words, now I request another learned speaker. We have Mr. Shishir Meglani, who is the CEO of Gtld Technologies. He is going to share his own views, his own experience, and his address on how the role of UA is important for in the Indic Internet language technology sector, and what things he has done for his own businesses and what is his plan for the future. So that is kind of his whole real life case study sharing, which we request Mr. Shishir Meglani to come forward and share his thoughts. Over to you, Mr. Meglani. I look forward to hear and listen to you.
Thank you, Sarika. Thank you for having me here. And I think the context has been set very beautifully by Rajay and Mr. Hussain here already. And it will make my life a lot easier because now I can focus totally on the delivery side of the entire UA concept. And I'll start with my presentation. And understanding why universal acceptance is a very important role, is a very important thing for technologists and business is of imperative here. And henceforth, my presentation, which I'll start, will focus from that point, so that it becomes easy for us as the technology providers to understand where we are heading at. Okay, so powerful word, Hamari Bhasha Hamara Adhikar, and I'll switch between English and Hindi. So that will also mean a message that yes, we'll have to talk or we'll have to be very compatible with our regional languages when we are talking and dealing with Indian customers. So yes, role of universal acceptance in Indic Internet and languages technology sector of India. Before I start, I think I would like to highlight what India is. India, as we know, like everybody knows, 28 states now, 8 union territories now, 1.33 billion population now. This is what, as a country, we know India is. But India is more than this. India is more than this because India has another demographic view of the entire ecosystem, which transcends through languages. And that India is this. So you see how the states' boundaries have been removed and languages have taken over to those boundaries, and why it is very important seeing this map. Universal acceptance is. So right now we have scheduled languages. We have 530 million users. We are expecting 460 million monetizable users by 2023 who are absolutely and only talking in regional languages. That's a huge market. And I'll share another little data here with you that we are right now the only country with the youngest level of population, and we are going to stay that way for next couple of years. That means, what does that mean for us as a technology providers or for us as an innovators? That means a young wave of entire young generation who are more savvy with internet, who are more savvy with smartphone, who are more savvy with modern technology are coming over and taking over the country. They'll be leading this. And this is a huge chunk of market which technology must cater as such. The challenge is, are we catering it? Or the right question is, are we really ready to serve all those people who will be talking in regional languages? Because India as a country we speak almost 44% of the population speak only in regional languages, and they do not talk English. So yes, since our technologies has been built around English, these population either face problems in accessing modern technology or face issues while trying to harness the output of whatever we are trying to do with technology in modern terms. And herein, the universal acceptance become very important because we as a country have multiple regional languages and further subdialects. So yes, this problem has been tackled at multiple levels, and we are going to deal with it, and we are going to see what kind of technology providers or innovators have come forward and what is their output. So yeah, for universal acceptance to be a success, a lot has been said. Dr. Data started on a good context. Domains are must. They should be viewable by every browser in the way they should be. Emails are must. And I'm glad that a lot of governments are already announcing a lot of Hindi-based email integrations. And now email has been quite a bit taken care of. Many large players support regional languages and Hindi languages and other dialects, wherein you can send mail in your own local languages without having the hassle of understanding English or knowing English to write it. The third critical ingredient where we as a service provider, we as an innovators, we as a technologist will play and do play a huge role is applications. Because this is where we serve masses using these technologies. And a lot of data is changing. Like previous 5 years, a lot was about text, text, text. Then it was voice and videos. And today it's almost voice and e-commerce. Since Google has launched Hindi search, it has seen 2.3 times search just in Hindi language search. That means a massive people are trying to get on internet. A massive range of people are trying to access services they have never used it before. But the real question is, are the service provider ready? Are we really catering to those numbers? Or are we missing on to that almost a billion numbers from India itself in next 3 years? That is where our innovation should come. And of course, display, because the final output has to be in a my language, which is on an average has been taken care of. This segment has been pretty much solid. The only segment where we need to focus on is to create innovative technologies so that हम जहां से start करें, अगर हिंदी से start कर रहे हैं, तो entire process हम हिंदी से खत्म कर पाएं. और यही एक challenge है. जब हम regional languages से start करते हैं, especially in terms of e-commerce, especially in terms of critical texts, हम उसको खत्म नहीं कर पाते. We are not able to end the process in the regional language where we start from regional language in many cases. And that's where the innovation and that's where the technology providers and service providers have to come forward and support the concept universal acceptance to the masses and build for the masses. And that's what we're going to see. There are a lot of players who have been hugely successful on this. But before that, let's understand what this entire scope and what this entire support system is. Now, tech support that has already been covered by Mr. Hussain, and that creates a platform and that devises a way how technology should function to make universal acceptance possible within their applications, within their e-commerce portals, within their services which they are interacting with users, so that local languages and regional languages, email IDs, language, text, operations are made seamlessly possible. And I say seamlessly, yes, there is a lot of work to be done still, and we find a lot of small and silly challenges, but I'm sure with passing years, a lot has been already been done here, and a lot of awareness is being made to promote a lot of Hindi content as such. Now, second part of this is user acceptance. The market, these services or the solutions are being focused on. Are they accepting your solution? There could be a massive question. English में मैं बना रहा हूँ software and it is giving me good aspect. Why should I, deliver my B2C portal in Hindi? Why should I invest so much of time in creating an e-commerce platform which supports Hindi throughout? That's very important, and that's a very good question too. That also means we need to find out certain stats which we are coming up in India, which I'll share in my next slide, and that will give you an array, and that will give you a vision where India is heading in next 2 years. And that means a huge market. And when I say huge, it's a huge market which is lying to be covered. And that's where the technologies focused are must, which are done by awareness, like Atmanirbhar Bharat efforts, like Wiki Alia efforts, which they're doing to promote universal acceptance, and the role played by technology creators like us, startup innovators who are coming up. Since the Atmanirbhar Bharat has been called up, they are seeing tremendous success in their own areas, in their own developments, and innovators who can create and fix those little bugs which are lying as the last milestone to have a hugely successful universal acceptance. For example, when we talk about e-commerce, e-commerce we have been able to show everything until the cart checkout, but still we are struggling to create something which is very seamless when it comes to making an online payment through our regional language. That's where a lot of innovation is still to be done. And if you can do it, trust me, you are setting up yourself to cater to a population which only talks in regional languages, and that number is almost 600 million users in next 2 years within the country of India, within our country itself. That's a big market. And this entire episode is already supported by foundation platforms, which like Icon is offering domains in Gtld, so that part is taken care of. Nixie is promoting it in India. That part is taken care of. USG is promoting very hard for the acceptance and pushing a lot of technologies to develop solutions around it. And they are doing it. Now, why should we really go onto that? Why India is such a strong focus in universal acceptance? There is a very good reason, and some of the reasons I'm highlighting in next two slides. We are going to be from data poor state to data rich state in next 5 years. That means almost 1.3 billion population will have the cheapest possible internet data. They'll have smartphones. Smartphones are growing almost like 25 million per quarter, and that pace, almost everyone will have a smartphone in next couple. If they have the smartphone, which is the primary source of accessing a lot of services now, are the service provider ready to cater those masses? Are we ready to cater 750 million new mobile users, which already are there on our network in 2020? They're expected to cross over 1 billion in next 2 years itself. And that's a huge market that we are losing if we are not innovating towards an end-to-end vernacular language push, end-to-end technology innovation, which deploys any service and solutions, be it voice, be it text, be it e-commerce, in regional languages. Localization, again, it's just a way to display the entire thing. So this is mostly about display and display the information in your own local language. And this part has primarily been taken care of, and a lot of people are doing it. But this will be a very good test bed, which a lot of startups and innovators have already tested it and have found huge success in it. So I'm going to show some of the startups. And this is just a slide which will stay there for a couple of seconds. And they have seen massive growth in regional language. They have seen a massive user influx coming onto their site who are talking in their own regional language, doing stuff in their own regional language, searching in Hindi language. And Google has been a tremendous game changer in that format. Now we just don't have to depend upon English for our searches or to find out the right information which we want to. And we don't have to type it. Like you can just speak it out and it will just give you the output. Massive search. Right now, most of the Indians are only searching in Hindi, by the way. That's another cue for us to create and utilize these stats and platform to deploy something big, something which can have million users like our earlier players have. And a lot of players are doing, large players are setting up the bed for us, and it is to ease our technology innovation to come here. It is upon us now to do and deploy our technology. Some challenges, yes, there will definitely be challenges as long as those tech are not seamless end to end. But then we are doing it, and a lot of new innovations have already been done. And I was surprised to see that Hindavi was one platform where you can actually put up syntaxes in Hindi as well. This is one thing which was deployed and developed in India, and hoping many such innovation would come forward which can create more grass-rooted utilization of this technology, so that most of the part can be done within our subset of regional languages and vernacular. Push. Now, why we are focusing on technologists and innovators and startups? Yes, because we want our country to be to move forward. We want our country to be, have our digital India kind of a dream. We want our country to be skilled. And it is, trust me, it is one of the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. 26,000 plus registered startups are already working on a lot of innovative technologies. And we have already clocking $90 billion. And with this value and with this kind of innovation and skill set, with most of the population young, a lot of innovation can be done, which will create a market push, which will easily double this value creation for us. And that's where the true innovation would come. And that's where our role as a technology providers will have to play to cater to the uncatered masses. Rest of the places, there is already a lot of competition. There's already a lot of people serving a lot of with a lot of solutions, a lot of new technologies. But are these technologies easily accessible to the end user, or almost 700 million new users which are being pumped in the Indian market space? That is something is a big question still, despite a lot of things being and a lot of effort has been done to set the ground rules for this. Now, as a technology provider, I understand this becomes very easy for me to speak out rather than show it off. But then we also are doing our bit in this entire scape, and we are trying to create something where we are facing some problem, but we are also getting success. And we have already done something which is available on our app, and it converts all the Hindi content into smart books and make available for people who can simply use voice for them and utilize that book reading experience right on their mobile phones or their iPads and in the language of their content. So we have been hugely successful in Kannada language and Hindi language. And when I say successful, it's not just about showing a book. It's also about doing a lot of data insights on the language tricks. And we have been able to find success. Yes, we are still facing certain challenges, but then since we have started it, we are going to end it as well along. And that's where I think technology providers like startups from 26,000 innovative startups working in India, these innovations should come from, and this will create next wave of internet revolution. That's what we should not lose as a technology provider. That's where the huge market deployment is coming. And that's where we'll have to utilize whatever support we have. And already the stakeholders like governments and UASG and ICANNs are supporting this innovation. And this innovation is a must. It will take over the country, whether or not you are part of it or not. So let's be part of this revolution. Let's try to create for universal acceptance. Let's try to make our products and services available for the masses in vernacular. Thank you very much. I'll check on the questions and I'll reply on to them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for putting up the case, especially with respect to the Indian geography. The numbers are really, really encouraging, and we all know that. In fact, to add on to what Mr. Meghani just mentioned, we would say that 9 out of the 10 internet users would be the Indic internet users. So that's the potential we are talking about, and that's the revolution we are talking about, and getting them as part of our whole process where we can have the consumption of the, I would say, the content in your own languages, and the businesses can actually work for the benefit for them, and they can actually utilize their services. Mr. Shishir Meglani has already mentioned about the foundation platform, the universal acceptance and the technology support. Out of more than 80 plus viewers we have right now currently on the YouTube as well as the Fiki's portal who are viewing this webinar, I'm sure the people who are on the enabler side or the developer side or any software provider, we are more than happy. If you have any questions on the UA side which you want Fiki LIA to work with you all in a longer term process, we'll be happy to take that process with you all. So thank you, speakers. Thank you for setting up the stage, sharing your perspectives from the India side, from the global perspective, especially from the ICANN perspective, and the high focus ICANN is having on the importance of UA, and of course, Dr. Data did mention about the whole context which is required from the India perspective, and as a chairman of USG, how they are looking at the various chapters, and especially having a good hopes from India, what all things can be done. And Mr. Shishir Maglani did cover up about the various, I would say, the persuasive stats, which is important and which is there with respect to our geography, which we should take into consideration while we are talking about businesses, and should not take it as the I would say the extra amount, which is a time which is required, or the resources, but something which would actually make the businesses go well accepted and actually will have a lot of benefits in future. So with these words, I would now come to the Q&A session. We have a few questions which have been posted by our viewers. We would just like to request the panelists to kindly take up those questions. Can I request before I give it to Dr. Data, who will take over all the questions, there's an important insight which has been shared by UA Ambassador Harish Chaudhary. He's mentioned that the Sarthi, which is a major website for the Ministry of Road and Transportation and provides services for the license and all RTO activities, is using a Devanagari domain. So it's already into sarthi.bharat. That is something there. So that is for the benefit of the users. You may like to visit it, and that's something from the government side. He wanted to bring it. He had mentioned to us, and we have written it here. Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, for bringing that insight information for us. Now over to you, Dr. Data. We have a few questions which is already there. I look forward to take up those questions. I mean, you can take it up with the panelist. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Farma. Thank you, Shishir, for wonderful presentation, Shishir, and a lot of context and a lot of path-breaking results which India has already achieved on languages front. Thank you for bringing this in everybody's knowledge. So there are three mainly questions. How can universal acceptance can help the e-commerce industry to reach more customers? And so, Sama, do you want to address, or do you want me to address, or Shishir, whatever?
Please go ahead.
Okay. So, e-commerce industry, let us take an example of Facebook. Facebook.com is a site. Now, if person do not know English or not comfortable with the word F or A and do not know what English means, then how does he reach to a website? Of course, the IDN can. How about Facebook.bharat as a domain name? And then, of course, the advertisements which come. So if you see the Hindi advertisement of Facebook, you will see entire thing is in Hindi, but the domain name and email address is still in English. So for people who read newspapers, who see advertisements, and those who do not know English, which is a large population in India, and this is true for Tamil, Telugu, Bangla, in each region, that these people are not able to deal with that ad, and they do not know how to browse and look for that website. If it is in Hindi, you will be able to reach more larger target segment for sure, and these people will be able to access the website without any problem. So that is definitely there. The efforts are being made very strongly by Government of India itself. As I shared, that 22 top level domain names have come in India, and the universal acceptance is going. I will let this question be answered by Samad. I'm just going to help. But the third question is how the Gtld can help the Indic internet. And let me just put in my mind, and then Sarmad can obviously add. It's a Gtld ICANN issue. So generic top level domain name is in two folds. One is in ASCII, one is in IDNs. Both the domain names has its own impact. So let us say for today, if you have recently seen the advertisements of SBI, State Bank of India, they have started moving on .sbi. If you see their domain names now, their advertisements are now very clearly saying .sbi. It not only creates a brand protection, it gives you a lot of ease to create your own domain names, easy to remember, easy to protect, privacy, security, all things come together. And of course, when these things come together, the users are more easy, more able to move further and browse and use services when they are more trustworthy on the domain name. So for sure, brand protection, trust, privacy, all those things comes together when you have a brand accepting a domain name. And of course, there are very easy to have access domain names can be made because you have your own top level domain name. This increases the acceptability in the internet market for sure, and so as IDN. So dot Bharat is there. If dot Facebook, dot SBI, dot bank, all those things, dot Paytm, all those things can be in all the languages. And all the languages means that you are breaking the language barrier and you are bringing more people online. Brief answer, Sarmad, feel free to add. But the question it comes to you is another question is what efforts are being made to accept universal Indic terminology by the non-Indic countries? So over to you, Sarmad.
Thank you, Dr. Data. So, as far as the GTLDs, I'll start with number three and build up on what Dr. Data just shared. So, yes, I think it brings a lot of business opportunity, which is evident from the previous round of new GTLD applications, which was opened in 2013, and globally there were about there are now more than 1,200 new GTLDs which have been processed and delegated. So there is obviously tremendous virtual space available there for businesses to grow, specialize their brand, as Dr. Data shared, and of course now communities preparing for a subsequent round for GTLDs, which will obviously get launched once the communities finalize the details. And that provides opportunity not only for, I guess, domain names which are relevant to, for example, Indian context or any other country for that matter in ASCII, but also domain names in those contexts or top level domain names in those contexts in local languages of those countries as well. Um, so it actually enables significant reach and choice to the local populations, and that of course is um, has significant social as well as economic implications. As far as the terminology is concerned, I think that's slightly beyond. The question goes slightly beyond the universal acceptance, I guess, scope, and goes more into localization, more generally into localization. And again, I think, as Shishir was sharing, that there are businesses which are working in India and abroad, which are promoting, for example, localization. And I would probably invite or request Shishir to maybe talk more about it from the context of specifically, I guess, Indic terminology and localization efforts. So let me stop here and see if Shishir wants to add anything. Thank you.
So I think localization has been accepted as a very norm by anyone who has focus on Indians or Indian market, be it India or anywhere, and starts from the very basic your operating system. And I think which is available. Microsoft has done a lovely job. Players like Google are doing transforming job in which this technology is being made accessible to users everywhere. So localization is one part where I don't think so anybody who's focused on India and want to cover 1.3 billion population market would actually even think of excusing themselves. And so should we not be, even if we are thinking small at this moment. And if you have realized a lot of new startups are already doing content and content display searches in Hindi, especially the video part of it, which is being a real focus in recent past, and a lot of other activities. So yes, I think when once any companies or any business has a focus on market as huge as ours, not just within our country's geography, but focuses on Indians outside our country as well, localization will be the key word. Without that, it would be very difficult for them to access 100%. And both Indian as well as non-Indian companies are working very hard for this. Because when I say it's a big market, 1.3 billion population is a hugely big market in next 3 years, which will be lying vacant Absolutely, I would say, because access to the vernacular content is still very low in terms of the percentage of the overall business. So yeah, I guess we have already shown some names which some big companies who are doing good job in vernacular push and localization. Plus, I've also shared some of the names like recent providers, Vocal, Daily Hunt, Chingari, uh, different. Some are doing in text, some are doing in videos, but the sense is that they are pushing this massive reach of internet to the rural of India, to the ground level of the Indian belt, and that is only going to respond back to these solutions, technologies, if and only if they talk in Hindi and they support Hindi. So that's where the entire landscape comes into a big picture, and that's where the vernacular acceptability is highly important, both for us as a technology providers, us as an state, because that's a huge chunk of market which will be away from the mainstream economy otherwise as such. I hope I'm able to answer that question.
Dr. Data, there are two more questions which you may like to take it forward, which has been posted. So I think the question, one more question, two more questions have been there. We have posted it in the chat. So maybe you would like to take it forward.
I have not received any chat.
Okay. Maybe I'll take up. I'll read out the question so that then you can decide. Yeah. The question is, how come localizing domain name can target pan-India customers and individuals?
So localizing domain names is obviously not a pan-India thing. We have to go region by region, language by language, and that's a limitation which you do when you are also targeting the international boundaries. Obviously, you cannot go to China or Japan with an Hindi domain name. So this is India is like 22 countries from the language perspective. If you see, we have 22 official languages, and we have no national language. So we have to deal with that situation and go each region with that regional language. So you are dealing with like just like if you want to deal with the content on a website, then you have to create content for all the languages, right? It is as simple as that. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question which is there. When can we have a generic TLDs in Indic?
Generic TLD
In Indic.
in India.
Yes.
Generic TLD on IDN are the discussion is going on in ICANN, and once the process is over, then ICANN will announce it, and it will be worldwide publication. Keep an eye on it and be attached with the SFICI ILA initiative when it is happening, and we will also create a budge around how this thing can be used, and you will have a lot of applications, lot of media around that, so you will not miss it very soon. Maybe this pandemic has delayed a little bit process, but I guess it is very near, not very far.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Data. I am sure with that positive note, we would like to conclude this webinar. There are the questions, but we have already overshot with the time. So we will take those questions, viewers, offline with the panelists. And I'm sure, as we said, FICI is committed. We are happy to take up other questions as well. You are free to write to us. My colleagues have already pasted the link in which you can write back to us. We will be happy to take any other questions as well with all the panelists offline. And we will definitely come back to you all again with the new content and the new webinars on the similar series, because this is this kind of revolution which FICI is working together, and we would be happy, and we would be doing multiple initiatives in this. We have done a couple of things in the past. We would be also doing up in the future. In fact, there would be soon a technical workshop which we will be organizing on the similar area. And from the viewers, we request anybody, when whosoever is interested, to participate or contribute as either of the areas, either as a speaker or even as a participant. Please write to us. We are happy, because it's a community-led platform. We are happy to take you all in together with us to take this forward. With these words, and realizing that without until as the UA is completely there in India, you cannot actually realize the potential and the benefits of a really truly inclusive multilingual Indic internet. So that's something which is very, very important. Our all the esteemed panelists and speakers have today talked about the same. With these words, I would like to conclude today's session and would like to thank Dr. Ajay Data, of course, the co-chair of ICT and Digital Economy Committee FICCI, and the chairman of Universal Acceptance Steering Group ICANN, Mr. Sarmad Hussain, Senior Director IDN and UA Programs ICANN, and Mr. Shishir Miglani, who is the CEO of the Curates Technologies, for their presence and for sharing their thoughts. We stay connected. Thank you, viewers. Stay safe, everybody, and please, please, please join us with this revolution. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarika. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.